All right, family jamly, are you ready to do a podcast about the movie Juice?
Yeah, I'm ready to get juiced up.
Now you got the juice. In three, two. Hello, I forgot to do the intro properly, but I'll do it now. It's Wednesday night, and you're here on Twitch. It's 9:25, and we're doing the show that everybody's here to see. It's Hey, did you see this one? And it is, of course, Caylen's Crazies month. It is his birthday month, and we are bringing it to a close. So let me turn it over now to Caylen. Happy birthday, buddy. It's the host of our show.
Get crazy with it.
Thank you for having me.
Juice. You're having us because you got the juice.
Get crazy with it.
I'm probably going to be the least crazy I've ever been.
Because you got the juice.
So,
Get crazy with it.
We wrap up November with Juice, a story, a tale of some inner city youths, and
I think you could even still qualify them as kids because they're in high school. They're still kids. Yeah.
So I'll just start off the bat. I saw this movie probably 16, 17
hold
years.
on a second, Caylen. What do you mean start off the bat? Sorry.
My introduction to this movie.
Okay, cool. You didn't say what you were doing.
Okay. Well, I've been thrown off my groove, and I didn't get a chance to set
get the juice back. You got the juice. You're the leader of the group tonight.
Listen, this is like the speaking stick, except it's a can of juice that we toss back and forth at each other.
Gonna pass the can.
It's a container. It's one of those resealable containers of Sunny D.
I'm gonna take 2 seconds to center myself. 1 moment.
Center yourself. He's
gonna go do some jumping jacks to get his heart rate up.
It's fucking probably get his heart rate down. It sounds like his heart rate is way up.
And we're back. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining us on this journey. Today, we're talking about Juice, although I guess it's right there. I could just leave that. And we'll get into the ins and outs and this and that and left and right and up and down as we go along. But I'm going to start us off with my introduction to this movie, which was years ago, sometime shortly after high school when I was working and had some money at my disposal to buy things that I wanted.
Juice. So much juice.
All of the juice. What's your guys' favorite juice?
Oh, it's
Apple.
It's Oasis orange breakfast by like a landslide. It's mostly orange juice. I like Tropicana. Every time they said juice in this movie, I imagined Tropicana, strawberry, banana, orange.
Sounds like
I was thinking Sunny D the whole time for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because like the 90s vibe, and Sunny D was a very 90s drink.
That's a good point.
What? They both came out in the 90s.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know what your collar pull was referring to.
I think Sunny D's been around for longer than that.
Has it?
Yeah, Sunny D's been around since the days of Tang, I believe.
Then why
I thought it was a new thing when I was a kid. Maybe they did a rebrand or something. Just the commercial being like, what do we got in here? We got cola, apple juice, purple juice, and Sunny D. And then like they pull out the Sunny D.
That's why I pulled my collar. That specific Anyway, Caylen.
I'm so confused.
I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
Is Sunny D just rebranded Tang?
Tang?
No.
I guess.
No.
Anyway, my favorite juice is apple juice. It's the best juice. It's so good.
Orange juice is the best juice.
Sunny D origin
Orange
story.
juice is also good.
I'm really sorry. My thing is being all wobbly and shitty, and it's pissing me off.
It's cool.
And I showed up late. My apologies, viewers. All of this is fucking up, and I'm starting to lose my cool. There we go.
Oh,
Okay,
man,
so
cool.
we're back.
We're
talking about juice today.
Sunny D came out in 1963. Okay, I'm done.
Back in the day, I'm trying to remember. Like I've heard it actually. So I remember one of the first like memories of Tupac was in, I want to say it was junior high, 7, 8, 9, maybe grade eight or 9. There was a girl that moved to our city from Toronto or Ontario area anyway. And we were doing assignments in English class on, I want to say, poetry. And she decided to do hers on Tupac's song Changes. And that was kind of like my first springboard jumping off point for Tupac. And or like the first thing I remember, like first memory of Tupac. And then as I got a little bit older and kind of started actually getting into music, and I remember listening to his records and just being instantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Taken in. There were references to this movie in a lot of songs. And so one day I was at HMV, as I've said before on previous episodes. I used to go to HMV and just browse for movies and do my little, let's check this out. This one came up, and that cover right there definitely stands out. Put it in, and I was instantly hooked. Everyone had a strong performance, but Tupac definitely stole the show. It was not exactly something, an aspect of life that I could personally fully relate to, but it was an eye-opener for truths of that realm of life. And yeah, that was my introduction to this movie about 16, 17, 18 years ago, something like that. Reveling, I know. Steven, why don't you let us know about your introduction to this movie?
I think I saw this movie a very long time ago, but it's hard to remember. I was always kind of like freaked out by movies that depicted violence in reality. So like not a fanciful level of violence, like something like James Bond or whatever, right? Where it's like ridiculous scenarios, people jumping from planes and shooting at each other. That stuff wasn't as disturbing to me as like two friends fighting with the gun and one of them shooting the other one violently. Like real life depictions of the violence like always actually like shook me to the point that I was like, oh, this movie's scary. Friends can shoot each other. And I don't have a lot of strong memories of watching it, but I do recall watching it, I think at like a sleepover or something when I was, I don't know, probably like 11 or 12. And this is when I was just getting comfortable with like horror movies and, you know, trying to get over my biggest fears. But then I was being introduced to movies like this where I was being shown a whole other level of fear that I didn't even know that I had, which was like real life violence. So my first impact is kind of fragmented, and I don't really have a strong memory of watching this movie for the first time. And it kind of got meshed together with a few other movies, which I'm a little bit more familiar with. So I would say my first true viewing of this movie and like kind of really soaking in everything was today. Nice. Because I was able to follow and sort of like digest and watch pensively and contemplate and like analyze a little bit more strongly. Whereas when I watched it when I was 12, I was like, oh God, they were such good friends and now they're all not friends anymore. What's happening? So yeah, today I guess I would say is my first true viewing of the movie.
Well, thank you. And yourself, Jason?
I got three. I got a series of words for you. And you're not gonna like it. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Oh, so that movie was the first time you saw this movie?
That movie is the first time I knew about a series of
Sucking
movies.
dick for crack.
I don't know specifically. I can't really remember. I did own that on VHS, but I can't remember what specifically that lampooned besides the title from this movie, because the movie is more
Boys in the Hood.
It's more Boys in the Hood, and then pulling from others, and like Dead Poet Society. Or
right. I mean, the Wayans brothers were always sort of they would obviously be lampooning like one thing directly, but then like bringing in little bits of everything. Right?
Yeah, like they made that, and then they made the first three or the first four scary movies like a few years later.
I think the first two. I think it was only the first two.
Oh, I thought they did up to 4.
There's 5 scary movies.
I'm sure that they were involved in production level stuff beyond that, but I think they did eventually end up selling the rights to
the other half of the guys from that. It was like the Wayans brothers and like 2 hacks. Those hacks made like epic movie, not another teen movie, like all the shitty ones. Not another teen movie.
One of those two
was good.
Not another.
But then I think one of those 2 hacks like went on to make real movies, where he's actually making real movies now. Yeah.
Anyway, that was my introduction to this like genre of movie, unfortunately. And outside of that, I've only seen not Dead Poet Society, the one where they wear the white faces to go in and like rob banks. Don't be a menace to society. Is it that one?
Oh yeah, don't be a menace to society. Yeah.
No, it's just menace to society.
Menace to society. Yeah. Don't be a menace to society.
Well, drinking
it's a warning
juice in the hood
about the dangers of inner city violence.
But when I was
falling into gang culture,
when I was a kid, I really liked Tupac. But his movies in 1995, I was 10, so there's no way I was gonna watch his movies because they're all gang movies or they're all inner city youth movies. And this one has a real basic story. I think I probably could have handled it as a kid. I couldn't have handled it in 1992 because I was even younger. I was 7. But I feel like I should have watched all the Tupac. Like, I really want to go watch all the Tupac movies now because of this, because he's so good. Anyway, my introduction is I watched it today, but I know about it. I've known about it for a long time.
Beautiful. So just to kind of add on as to why I added this movie for this month was actually because of his monologue closer to the end, where actually I think I wrote it down here. So you know, last time you called me crazy and I was tripping, right? But you're right, I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that has always stuck with me, and that was like when I was thinking about movies for this month. That line, that monologue was just kind of at the front of my mind the whole time. So I wanted to include it in this month. And I also thought that maybe it might have been something that you guys may not have been familiar with. So I also wanted to bring it to the table for that reason as well.
I'm actually really surprised you didn't do Natural Born Killers, but did a similar movie, California, instead, because I am very familiar with Natural Born Killers, and I think most people are, and I think California, out of those two, is the right choice, which leaves you open to do like something in a left field, like, you know, a predominantly black movie dealing with mental illness is a really interesting way to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It also fits the vibe of the other movies, I think, in a different way. Like you kind of took a broad theme, and you were able to slot in, I think, 4 different movies that felt very different from each other. So that's a good work there, Caylen. You did a good job.
This one's a lot.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
This one's
Sociopath is kind of the main,
the main thread
character within each one.
This one's a lot like California. I thought like just this person who gets progressively more and more insane as they, like, at the beginning of the movie I was like, who's the person that's gonna snap? Like, I didn't even know. And then Tupac starts to show his
just because I didn't watch a trailer for this, I didn't know anything about it. other than my fragmented memories of thinking that I had seen it and then realizing I was like slotting in probably like TV shows and movies to like fill in blanks.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what was going on, but because of the theme of the month, I knew that like Caylen's not just gonna give us a movie where no one goes crazy. Like one of these people is gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
And from that, I was like, okay, he's clearly the jacked up one, right? Like he's the one who's like overly excited and grabbing people aggressively and trying to go back up his friends, or not even really friend, just some guy, Blizz, I think his name is, or Blizzard.
Yeah.
He wants to go in and like help. I'm like, okay, he's gonna be the crazy one. He's definitely gonna be the crazy one. And then right after that, they're in the apartment cooking up some nasty eggs and ham.
And with hot sauce,
he's watching
delicious.
Yeah, and he's watching that movie, and like he stands up and gives like a little miniature speech of like, "That's how we got to go out, man, on our own terms, the top of the world." I'm like, okay, he wants to go down in a blaze of glory, no matter what. He's the kind of guy that wants to live his life in the moment, never having to plan ahead, and always do exactly what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and whatever the decision is, and like, but acting impulsively, right? Like he wants to act impulsively, and he's kind of like proud of the fact that he's able to. And it almost seems like there are moments where you can see that he's thinking, but he's thinking 5 seconds ahead of what is happening. He's not thinking 10 steps ahead. He's thinking like literally 10 seconds ahead. And it's kind of interesting if you notice that the first encounter he has with the other sort of group of people, they seem more like a gang, right? Like they're like a clump of people that move around and like surround somebody, and like intimidate you. I'm like, that seems like a gang. Like these 4 guys don't seem like a gang. They just seem like 4 friends.
High school friends
are pretty tight. Yeah. And I can't remember the guy's name. It was like Raheem.
Raheem?
No. The other guy who has like a serious. Radames. Yeah. That guy. Terrible actor, by the way. That guy. He was like a cartoon character. He might as well have been tying people to fucking railroad tracks, in my opinion. Maybe he got better in life. Maybe he seasoned out a little bit and kind of cut his teeth somewhere else. But like in this movie, I'm just like, this man is doing all the lip to lip acting, and he gets like his version of intensity is like talking so close to you that you can taste what he ate for lunch.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something funny about this actor? I'm looking at him right now, and he's been in a few TV shows, but like he's to this, like, for instance, in Better Call Saul, he played Detective Number 2. So he's been working this whole time, and he just gets he played Painter in a movie called Asthma.
Yeah, so he's probably just like a day player where he comes in and fills a slot, and he has a particular look that they need, and they know he can deliver dialogue, but he's not like a he's not gonna get a bit part. He's just gonna get the painter role or the detective who says, "You're coming with us."
Do you know who was excellent in this movie?
Oh my god!
Shut up. Do you know who was excellent in this movie? Donald Faison from Scrubs. He has.
Yes. He has that one
moment where he walks in and like talks shit to Q and then just bounces and he's like, "What, you want to fight?" And I was like, "Holy shit, blink and you miss it." And I believe that I listened to the Scrubs podcast and Donald Faison mentions it all the time, kind of jokingly. Like Zach Braff will be like, "Yeah, because you were in Juice," and he's like, "Shut up." I was in Juice for literally, but because he of course got his main fame from being in Clueless.
Yeah. But, you played the juice in Juice, didn't you?
You were
the bottle of juice.
You were the bottle of juice.
Bottle in the corner. I've never watched Scrubs, so I don't know who he is.
I think you like Scrubs. It's cute. It's a sitcom. I know you don't really like that kind
of thing. I know what it is. Never heard of Scrubs ever. Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. The biggest sitcom for a decade.
I'm aware of Scrubs. Yes.
It's good. I liked it.
When
I've seen it 3 times.
I never watched something, I mean, I didn't watch it. Like, I didn't watch a full season of it. I've seen an episode here and there, and I was like, not my cup of tea. Oh, live action Family Guy. Interesting. Not interested.
Well,
what? Scrubs is live action Family Guy?
Listen,
Family Guy.
I was making a broad stroke chill.
It's a very broad stroke.
Fucking debate about Scrubs with you. We're here to talk about Juice. Okay?
That's fun. It's funny that you should say that though, because JD's like non sequitur thoughts that are just like non sequitur little gags are very similar to Family Guy. But
that's
nice.
That's the.
Maybe I should check out Scrubs.
I thought you were going to say, maybe I should check out Family Guy.
Maybe I should check out Family Guy for the first time.
Never heard of that one either.
Is it about a family guy or some sort of family
sort of
man?
Guy. But I mean, I watched a lot of House, so I'm very familiar with Omar Epps and how good he is in that show. Yeah, I loved House.
Omar Epps is one of those very prevalent actors who's been around, just been in everything, really. Is he in the MCU, though? That's the new barometer.
I mean, he's not, but he probably should be.
But when a big actor like that isn't in the MCU, it's kind of like, so when?
Will be eventually.
Who are they going to be?
Omar Epps as the Silver Surfer. I'm down.
Yes. Actually, that would be...
As Norin Rad. He's got a perfect Norin Rad head. Have you ever seen Norin Rad?
Yeah. Norin Rad has a very flat, spherical head. Another couple great actors that I noticed in this before we kind of move on from this section. Fucking young Sam Jackson, which I feel like I've never seen.
And by young, you mean
the
40
best
years
line,
old?
Like
the best line in this movie. The best line, maybe in any movie. Just because you push syrup on shit, don't make it pancake.
That's great. And I think he's chewing vanilla bean.
He had a couple of
the whole time.
weird-ass lines like that, where he's like, you just slid down a razor blade into a puddle of gasoline or something, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does that fucking mean? I don't understand what that means.
The razor blade cuts you, and then the
gasoline
gas stings.
Stings?
Or was it?
And I think...
But I still don't know what that's meant to imply.
I think also... so Queen Latifah is in this as well, but I think she'd already had a budding career at this point. I'm pretty sure... what was that?
She was one of those, like, fill this role with a known person to give the movie a little bit more clout.
Well, she would have been doing music still. Yeah, she would have still been doing music at this time, but I think she had that she was on that sitcom, Living Single, which I don't know if it had started yet. But
all I know is that she was in Sphere a couple of years later, and I was like, Sphere is the best. I love Sphere.
1993.
She plays like the person in charge of like nautical pressure underwater, like, and getting people into their suits and shit.
I don't know if I've
My
ever
main
seen
memory
Sphere.
of Queen Latifah is that she got Eugene Levy straight tripping, boo. I forget what movie it was from, but like that's like the
It's called
first
Bringing
thing
Down the House.
Yeah, definitely.
We've talked about this on the podcast before.
Oh, Sphere has a pretty big build cast. It's Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and Samuel L. Jackson, and they live in like a water. They live in a sea.
It's like an underwater laboratory, like at the bottom of the ocean.
But then some horrible shit starts happening. I see.
Classic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a very cool movie. I kind of want to do.
That's a hey, did you see this one?
Month.
Yeah, that's a hey, did you see this one? We could do Deep Blue Sea as well.
I have like I like kind of like shrunk down my movie collection to like just my Blu-rays, and it's one of the few that I have on Blu-ray because I was like, I want to hear all the audio commentaries and writers and directors and actors talk about this.
We could also do The Meg, which I've never seen and I really want to watch. It would be a good opportunity to watch The Meg.
Definitely worth a watch.
And then we could also
do. Pretty fun, yeah.
We could also do that weird sequel to the third. Remember that movie? It's the third Cloverfield movie that takes place on a spaceship and it's a body horror.
Yeah. So there's
the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I have a whole list of isolation movies that they're like you're in a ship, like Sunshine, The Abyss, Sphere. Like I made a list because I'm like I want to do a month of just weird isolation movies. Like Alien could be one.
Hey, you know what? You know what's interesting is when you're alienated, you could feel isolated, much like Bishop, played by Tupac Shakur. Did you like that segue?
That's true.
Great on track segue.
Deep Blue Sea also has.
Damn it.
And we're off. I do gotta say though, in regards to this movie, I did like the intro sequence introducing us to each character. We kind of get like a general vibe of like who each person is, like cues about the music kind of thing. Raheem.
Kind of wild that it was 35 minutes of character intro.
Yeah.
Like before, remember when I was texting you guys today? I was like, this movie.
I don't know
is
what's
like,
going on. Too much music.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck's happening? It's
very world.
Just telling me like. and they get it all out of the way. They front load it with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much like heady stuff later on in the movie that they have to go through.
It's a
master They don't have time to like, and it's pretty short. It's a pretty short movie.
It's
like,
an hour and
they
34
probably could have
minutes.
made this a 2-hour.
Your
and
favorite.
had to spend a little bit more time with each character.
It's a masterclass at world building. I thought I wanted to know
masterclass. Oh my god!
I wanted to know a lot about these characters, but I didn't want to watch a 2-hour movie.
That's why. So it's a masterclass in keeping things tight for Jason.
Keep it tight for Jason. Show me, front load it with all the cool hip hop of the era, then play the bangers in the banger times, like the Cypress Hill song, and there's another really big song from the era that plays later, and
I think it's by Rakim. I think it's called Juice. Actually, I think might be the one you're thinking of.
Right. The thing that I thought was hilarious right before that. We got a classic 80s, 90s intro that's not just black, like a black background with the names. We get
some like city.
We get cool shots of Brooklyn. I think it's Brooklyn that they're in, or somewhere in New York.
I want to guess it's one of the boroughs of New York. I'm pretty sure.
But that part felt like I was watching the intro to a PBS show in 1993, which I used to watch a lot of PBS as a kid. Remember, like Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider, which they rebooted. I was like,
do you just call it Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider. They rebooted Ghost Rider. It's on Netflix, I think. I'll never watch
Imagine Ghost Rider showed up in Ghost Rider, like as a cameo, an MCU tie-in.
Great job, kids. I'm going to go back to having a flaming skull.
Yeah. During the day, I'm a man, but at night, the rider takes over.
But it was a really, like, that was probably the worst part of the movie as far as cinematography goes, but it's still better than, like, Friday the 13th.
I don't know. I think it was mostly just, like, stock footage of the city that they sped up and had, like, the trailing lights and stuff.
Turntable kind of effect. Like, the little
swirl.
They
had a nice little sort of visual foreshadowing to, like, what you're going to see in the movie. It was almost sort of like a Tarantino intro where when he does those sort of graphical intros, he'll always sort of tell you the story of the movie just by showing items that are going to appear throughout the movie. And it's a classic move for opening credits, and I always appreciate like a good opening credits. Like I think I've said this before. I'm like, I kind of miss them sometimes because they don't really do them anymore.
I think we talked at length every week for all of the grimoire of Familiar Killers, because every one of those movies, they're so old that it's just like it's just fucking credits. Like,
and I still think that Chucky 1, they had the best, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory style opening, except it's a doll being created. Should we do like a little?
I was just going to say before we move on from that, I believe that I think the movie Friday also has an intro that's just like people getting up at breakfast time and like kissing each other goodbye to go to school and like arguing and like, but more comedically because it's a comedy. And I was like, I wonder if Friday used that as sort of inspiration, because I think that this movie is a bigger cultural phenomenon for certain circles. I'll just say it. Look, when this movie came up, we kind of realized that we're a group of, up in their 30s, white dudes. We don't really...
Oh, no! Well, what are we doing?
So I don't have a lot of... I can't really speak to a lot of the cultural impact of a movie like this, because I don't think this movie is for me, ultimately. I don't think this is a movie that is meant for me to relate to or talk about in depth like that. But
what if it's meant to introduce you to this stuff?
Absolutely, and I love it. And I'm no stranger to black cinema, right? But there's certain things that I can't really have opinions on politically or racially, if that makes sense. So I'm trying.
I think it's more just like your opinion doesn't really fucking matter.
It might, yeah.
And like whatever you're gonna say, it's fine. You can say it, but as long as you're not being offensive or ignorant. But like at the end of the day, your opinion of this movie is not going to mean as much as the opinion of somebody who can relate to the characters on a very base level, because it is a movie that feels to be based in reality, even though there are some sort of maximalist elements to it. Yeah. But I think that like the introduction to all these characters, for example, is extremely well crafted, because I feel like I know a little bit about each one of these characters based on the little tiny window we get of their home life, right? Like
I
we've
will
got
say, culturally, I can identify with one very specific moment. And I grew up like pretty poor, and my parents weren't around. So the scene where they're in Steele's parents' apartment, and he's cooking whatever he can find, which was eggs like salami or spam
Back
or something,
bacon. Yeah.
and he's like pouring his 40 into it and like putting hot sauce, and they're all just cutting school and drinking 40s. Like that's what my high school experience was like. Everybody's parents worked. We went to each other's houses. We smoked weed and drank during the day when we were supposed to be in school, and just cooked whatever the fuck we could find in the fridge. So culturally, that I could identify with, but a lot of the other stuff.
I don't know if that's a culture.
No,
Sounds like
but,
you're
like,
just being a shitty teenager.
I think it's like
You bad.
the culture of parents not being around and being a poor kid living in a city. Like it's not a racial thing. It's like a poverty line thing. I was going to go on to say that there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I can't really identify with, because there's a lot of struggle that I've never known or seen.
Experienced.
You know what I mean? So I apologize if any of this is like, out of pocket. If it sounds wrong, I would love to be more educated. I'm trying to work with what I have for this. Like I said, I'm 37 and white, and at my current stage of life, I'm pretty well off. So I even have forgotten things about my childhood. Of what I mean. Take it away, Caylen.
So as I was saying, the little brief window
ahead.
that we get for each of their introductions gives you a perfect example of who they are without having to drag you through an entire day with each of them to let you know the different sort of struggles that they have individually, right? So like you were saying, Jason, Steele has a very specific experience compared to Raheem.
When they smashed all the pictures off the wall and he was like, I gotta tell my parents. I also was like, I punched a hole in the wall one time by accident with the back of a rocking chair because we were wrestling, and I felt that moment so hard, dude.
But just even like the concept of having to share a tiny bedroom with a younger sibling, and then being like harassed by your dad to get up, and
then your sibling in the background joking.
Yeah, exactly. Like the sibling dynamic of like you're pitted against each other within your own home. You already sort of understand his mentality. If you've had siblings before, you know what it feels like to be pitted against your sibling in a very like close arena against one parent or two parents.
Which I don't, but you guys both have siblings, so.
Right. So, but you also see, I keep want to call him Raul, but I know his name's Raheem.
There's Q. There's Raheem.
I know everyone else's name. I'm talking about Raheem.
There's Q as in GQ. Like, I want to be on the cover of GQ.
Yes, G, Steele, Bishop, and Raheem. Is it Raheem, or am I saying it wrong?
It's Raheem.
Okay.
Yeah, Raheem.
So Raheem has a weird sort of like aggressive situation with his sister where they, like they're battling. It's like another classic sibling rivalry where they're like have to pay each other to get into the bathroom, and they'll use like tactics to trick each other. And the mom is sort of like semi-absent. And when the mom tries to intervene, they're like, no, shut up, mom. You don't need to worry about this. That is kind of how I have that sort of relationship with my sister in my life, where like we would have to battle over things. And anytime my mom would get involved, we'd be like, shh. We'll argue with you later, lady. And then Bishop has probably the most interesting and compelling and mysterious, because you don't really learn anything about it.
Yeah.
But I throughout the movie, I'm like, I think this is probably the source of why he gets so upset when people call him crazy, is because his dad is like gone through something that has caused him to be completely silent, mute, and vegetating in front of a television, right? Why does he give him the money? I don't know. I don't think it's ever answered.
No, and
He's
they glossed over
that.
They glossed over that so quickly before I knew who was going to be the the person who actually is the crazy person or the mentally unstable person.
And they never really go back to it. So
I didn't even think about it.
It kind of leaves you, right? Like you forget about it. But I was having a good time with the introduction of these characters, so I was kind of like soaking it all in. I'm like, oh, he's the troubled one. His dad is like, there's something wrong with his dad. What happened to his dad? And then Omar Epps, he almost has sort of like the most healthy seeming.
He has he's got like a little brother who's like, you know, pretty well adjusted. He seems to be like he wants to get out of the like that life, like the everybody's joining gangs and
he also has a dream, right?
Street tough. Well, that's part of it. That's the thing about a lot of these movies is it shows like how shitty the streets are, and then there's usually a character that wants to get out. So immediately I was like, Q's either the main character going to survive all this, or he's going to get killed like really fast. He turns out to be the main character of the movie, pretty much, like our hero.
He's our protagonist, yeah.
Yeah, but at this point in the movie, you don't know. You know, Steele isn't gonna be. He's the hero.
He's the
of
comic
the movie.
fat guy.
He's gonna be the.
He's the funny fatty. Yeah.
He ends up being the hero of the movie, but like.
I was watching it, so I watched it the other day, and then I watched it again this morning, and so I kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Juxtaposed.
Juxtaposed?
Yeah. It made me think of the Ninja Turtles. So, like, Raheem was kind of like the leader, how he was trying to keep everyone together, trying to keep peace. Q was kind of like Donatello because he's good with, like, the turntables technology kind of thing, right? Steele is Michelangelo, like he likes to have fun and kind of joke around, and then Bishop is Raphael. He's like kind of rude and moody or whatever.
I fully agree with that assessment. Caylen. I think that I like to compare things to Ninja Turtles when it's a foursome like that, and I think the Ninja Turtles. It's no coincidence that the Ninja Turtles are those four archetypes.
Yeah.
Because they sort of represent four very predominant personalities, especially among teens, and
especially among mutant teenagers,
especially among teens. Steve, don't lampoon me, bro. But I think that Caylen, you're absolutely correct, and Steve, get out of here. You're absolutely incorrect.
I didn't say anything.
Exactly. It's all in the way that you carry yourself, brother.
All right. Well, I guess I don't have the juice any longer.
I have the juice now, my man.
Jay's got the juice.
Caylen, why don't you take? Now you got the juice.
I did like with each character's opening sequence, like you said, like we get a little bit of a insight into like who they are and kind of get like a general idea of who they are. And then also when Q is trying to decide on what sneakers to wear and like kind of like, looking to his little brothers like, nope, not this one other. Yeah, these are the ones right here. Yeah. And he's got the Reebok pumps. He's got the fucking Reebok pumps, man. Those shit were dope.
And probably not $1 million at that point, like they probably are now.
Yeah, they were affordable, or they weren't affordable, but they were like you saved like up for a little while to get them.
$60 or $80, $1992 instead of thousands to even like sneakerheads.
They re-released them recently. They did a re-release.
Yeah, but
they're like $200.
They probably sold out immediately.
They did a juice re-release,
and they rejuice. But they probably sold out immediately, and then the resellers probably had those $200 shoes at $1,000. You know what I mean? Like, shoe collecting is fucked. Shoe collecting is the new like action figure collect. Like it's like action figure collecting, but for people that are like, that's fucking nerd shit. But honestly, people collect those shoes like nerds. Like you probably got some shoes that you paid a little bit too much money for sitting next to your goddamn Dragon Ball action figures. So you're just covered from every angle.
I try to only get retail. I really don't. I don't like someone buying sneakers just to resell them. I don't like that. Buy it because you want the sneakers. That's it.
I mean, that's what people do with consoles when they first come out as well, right? They buy up like 50 PS5s and then sell them out of a van.
They use bots too, just like the shoe heads.
I really don't like that.
Nobody likes it, Caylen. The only people that likes it are those fucking assholes that do it.
Are the people sitting with a whole garage of PlayStation 5s, Xbox Series X, and the fucking newest pumps, just stacked up.
Yeah.
Worth nothing if you can't sell it.
Right?
It's worth zero.
True, yeah.
Like that's why collecting comic books and antiques is so fucked, because like you can't unless you have somebody to sell this shit to, or if you have a shop where you're like constantly moving product, there's no point in collecting. I learned
take it to like an appraiser and they're like, I estimate this is worth $500,000, but good luck finding some dumbass to buy it, you weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. Pokemon cards, like those shiny Pokemon cards.
Oh yeah.
The fucking shiny Charizard. The fucking, what was the most rare Pokemon card? Like Mew? I think Mew was the most rare Pokemon card. Or something
well,
like
it's changed now. There's a Logan Paul.
I think the Charizards are still like top dollar, man.
No,
I think
absolutely.
that's like the big one. Yeah,
absolutely. They don't decrease in value, but the most expensive Pokemon card is a Logan Paul. Logan Paul owns it, and it's like a 1-of-1 Pikachu.
They're gonna say it's like a Logan Paul exclusive where he's like drawn as a Pokemon or something.
No, it's a 1-of-1. It's a 1-of-1 original run, I think. Pikachu shiny that's like literally worth $1 million.
Listen, it's controlled by the market. The
$10 million.
The people are the ones that dictate the value of these things.
Well, that's the thing. It's all imaginary.
Are the ones.
Yeah. You could cut it in half and it goes away forever. And that's not like that money is lost to the sands.
Remember
of time.
Beanie Babies? Remember
yeah.
when people would go fucking bananas and kill each other over
when I met
Beanie
Madison,
Baby collections?
She revealed to me that she had this massive collection of Beanie Babies. And I
nice.
looked at
Does she
them.
Still have them?
Yep. And I looked at them. They're,
right.
they're all in mint condition with the little tag on them, which is what you want. And I looked at them, and I checked the market. We checked the market for Beanie Babies, and they're worth like less than like they're each worth a couple bucks or whatever for their. But you'd have to find somebody
they were
willing
worth like hundreds of dollars at one point.
Exactly.
And now it's like no.
If we tried to sell them off in
you just gotta wait longer. No, you just gotta wait
even longer. That's what I've been doing.
That's not exactly
with comic
how
books.
it works.
With comic books, that's how it works. They that ebbs and flows. I have a Werewolf by Night comic, first edition with Moon Knight, and because the Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night shows just came out, it's spiked.
Ooh, shit.
It's spiked. Yep. But the thing is if we should have just sold it right now, because it's gonna go.
Yeah. It's not like you're sitting on a thing that's going to be worth $250,000 eventually. It's
right.
like, ooh, it's worth $75 now. Like it's
it's worth like $6,000 right now, which is pretty crazy. And I have an Amazing Spider-Man #1. Which will always go. It ebbs and flows upwards, like it trends upwards because it's from the 60s.
I have an original Sin City collection. I was actually using this for reference today.
Trade paperbacks are a different thing. They're worth even more money because they're
this
books.
One is A Dame to Kill For, yeah. But I have this whole set that creates the image on the side.
Nice.
Like it makes one large image.
Picture. Yeah.
And I've had these for probably about 15 years.
First run trade paperbacks don't really depreciate in value the same way because they're closer to like the way books appreciate in value, where books stay valuable, especially if they're first runs and first eds and stuff.
Yeah, so like this like collection is worth like, I don't know, like $1,000, I guess, for like the full collection. And I'm just thinking like, when Frank Miller fucking kicks the bucket, it's probably going to be worth a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
But I also love them. Like I crack them open and I use them for inspo and reference all the time. And like I have not taken good care of them. Like I don't have them hermetically sealed in a safe. I'm just like, yeah, I need to look at the Yellow Bastard comic again. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, that's how they drew that angle.
He's got a weird head and he bleeds a different color.
What color does he bleed again? Oh yeah, yellow. Fuck.
There's the scene. They all finally meet up at the beginning. They're walking down the sidewalk, and this is some that I'm familiar with. Not that it specifically happened to me, but familiar with where the white businessman guy goes way out of his way to like avoid them. Like there's a lot of,
that's probably more of like what I was saying before about maximalist sort of like it's a funny bit, right? Like it is funny.
It's funny.
This guy is like he goes on the other side of the benches to walk on like the wet grass to like not be near them. In the middle of the day when there's like 100 other people around in the park.
And you're in the Bronx.
But it's like, you know, it's funny, but it's also like that's also like there are people that are just horrified of young black men. Like they're terrified of them, right? Where they'll see like even just one person, they'll be like, "Oh God," and they cross the street, and it's like, ugh. And you know, it's like a stereotypical white person thing to do, but like, I know white people that would do that because they're shitty, stupid.
Shitty people that don't understand how the world works and think.
Yeah, it's like no, it's just a bunch of friends walk. They would not have paid attention to you at all.
Had you not,
because you're bringing so much extra attention to yourself, they're going to fuck with you.
They should have just crossed the street the other way before
funny.
that. I want to see a gag where they cross the street first because it's a white person. It's like, ugh.
Did you guys see that? I forget what it was on. There's some like little viral video, where it keeps escalating. Where like someone sees a clown, they versus a white person.
Isn't that a Key and Peele sketch?
Is it Key and Peele? It's something.
It's like
I don't know what
Key
it
and
is.
Peele sketches where things just keep escalating.
But it's like someone. It's that premise where they see someone that stereotype, like they're racially afraid of or whatever. So they cross, but then that person sees it keeps escalating. Like someone sees a clown. Someone sees like Michael Myers or something like that or whatever, like keeps escalating with what they're avoiding or whatever. Yeah. And making a joke of that mannerism.
If it's not Key and Peele, it sounds like a Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah.
Because they do that's
my brain went to the one where he shows up with a new hat and then like the other guy comes in with like the hat with the bag over it and then he comes out with like it's in like the case, this display case still. But then when he goes to the corner, he's got like the woman on top of like a table making the hat on top of his set.
Or the one where like it's the two guys, they're away from their wives and they're talking about like how they like were being defiant. I said beep, and it's a thing that happens throughout the episode, and at the end they're in space. You're like, and I said bitch.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It's a good one.
Or like the when it's like two really effeminate men who are talking on the phone and like they're like, oh my god, there's a black guy coming, and then they like have to act like super duper like extra to not sound gay, and they're both doing it to like sound super masculine.
Yeah.
And then like as they walk away from each other, they're both like, I think I almost just got mugged.
Steven, I think you mentioned Blizzard earlier. Yeah. And he's got that one line. Like it's so like
the weirdest thing in the whole movie.
Yo, pardon me, but I'm gonna rob this place.
I love that moment where he's just like having a conversation. He's like, hold on a second, I'm gonna rob this place.
I just got out, or I'm on parole now or something like that. Yeah.
This also feels like a Tarantino move, right? Like doesn't it seem like a Tarantino thing? And this is like pre Pulp Fiction,
Reservoir?
Right? I think it's after Reservoir, but it's like it's before Pulp Fiction.
Right before Pulp, yeah.
And the opening scene of Pulp Fiction is they're just talking about if the thing comes fucking mud, and then it's like everybody get on the floor. This is a robbery.
It's a fucking robbery. Well, I don't think he's doing a British accent, is he?
No, she's British.
She's not British. Tim Roth is British. She's not British.
Okay, I had the cassette, and she yells like, "This is a robbery," and it sounds like she's British. Then
she's got some sort of accent.
Maybe she's trying to emulate him because Tim Roth is 100% British.
He's British, and he's British in Pulp Fiction, right?
I think so.
But I haven't seen the movie in so long,
but yeah,
he's an American police officer in Dogs.
I remember him.
Now
he's undercover. Yeah. Anyway, so him saying like, "I'm gonna rob this place," and pulling out like a huge, it's like a huge shotgun too. It's not even like a little one. And then he proceeds to tell everyone to take their clothes off. Everybody strip, which is very funny.
Oh, and he dies in a shootout immediately that we find out about on the news.
Yeah, but before he dies, he tells everyone to take their clothes off, and then he asks
especially you.
Do you want to get in on this? And the guy's like, no, I'm good. He leaves. And then he's like, I like the way you look or whatever. I want to see you naked first. Yeah.
And then Q goes outside and explains what just transgress.
And they're just standing.
There. And then Bishop
Leave,
is like,
run,
no,
away.
Bishop is like, let's go in. What are we doing? Let's go in there. And that's when you get that first like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna be a problem.
He's a live
If
wire.
I was exiting that bar after buying cigarettes and realizing an associate of mine or an acquaintance of mine was robbing the place, I wouldn't come out and be like, you guys are not going to believe what's going on in there right now. I'd be like, let's go. Everyone follow me for like 2 blocks and then I'll tell you what's going on.
Don't look at my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I loved that. Like
It's
think,
funny.
I think
it's actually
little,
it's a funny scene.
I think there's little
weird
threads of comedy in this, like how the gangsters are like telling them that they're gonna bust their ass like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
This movie is kind of like 2 movies. Like the first half of this movie feels kind of like, not to say lighthearted, but like it's definitely a little bit lighter, and then it takes its turn.
It feels like
is lighter, man.
It feels like a high school movie about a kid who aspires to be a great DJ and is well on the way to being that, and then his psycho friend
at that contest was the best.
Yeah, and his psycho friend at the same time is like, we gotta get the bag and we gotta get the juice. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, if you don't come get the juice with me, I'll bust your ass. And then to get the juice, he shows them a gun, so they're all scared. And then he's like,
I think we're skipping over some important information here, which is that Raheem is like displayed to us as the audience as this like sort of like golden boy who's like, he wants to take care of his kid, he wants to get back with his girlfriend who has his son. He doesn't want to get into this shit. No, this stuff is done. We're not helping these people. We're not going in there to help them with the robbery. They watch the fact that Blizzard was killed in that shootout. And then, that's when Q and Bishop get into it.
Steel just wants to hang out at the arcade and play the original. Did you guys know?
Yeah, Steel is he's a beautiful boy. We all want to give him a big kiss. Do you remember when he asked for the kiss and she puts the money up? I'm like, I would have kissed him right on his fucking mouth. He's so cute. I love him.
Did you guys catch that, though? They were playing Street Fighter 1.
I thought it was Street Fighter, but it didn't look like the Street Fighter characters.
So just to get,
because it's Street Fighter 1, the one that no one has ever played.
Ryu and Ken are in it.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Ryu and Ken are in it, and pretty much everybody else. Like, there's no M. Bison, there's no Dalsim, there's no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's it was arcades only, and it was on TurboGrafx for home release, and that's it. Yeah. And Street Fighter 2. So do I. Street Fighter 2 became so big that it like overshadowed Street Fighter 1. It became the main one. Yeah, and it was basically only in arcades.
To the point, Caylen, that you just were like, that's not Street Fighter, because you have never seen Street Fighter. You've only seen Street Fighter 2 in your whole life.
That's interesting. No, I didn't know that.
He said, I thought it looked like Street Fighter. It just said Street Fighter in the Street Fighter font.
And you can clearly see Ryu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about the original Street Fighter, the other thing, just real quick, it sucks, and it's not very good, and it's terrible. So that's why nobody remembers it.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah,
I think that everything we said up until that point made that clear already, but okay.
Confusing and weird. I don't know why you guys said any of that. I don't know why I said any of it. I just wanted you guys to be clear on that. Street Fighter 1 is a
Anyway, I was trying to clear it up with Raheem.
We are on a video game platform. We gotta get, it's like CanCon. We gotta sneak in a little bit of video game.
Yeah, you ever watch the movie Juice? There's a reason you don't recognize the character that Ryu is fighting, because they got rid of him after Street Fighter.
Yeah,
they realized, wait a minute, no one's actually fighting in any streets.
And it's interesting. You'd think it would be called Street Fighter 1, but it's actually just called Street Fighter. Much like how there's no World War 1.
What? There's no 1 on the first of anything?
There's no World War 1. It's the Great War was what World War 1 is officially called.
Wow, we should start a history podcast where Jason can drop facts like that on us.
That's what we're doing now. I thought this was a history.
You're telling me that the Germans and everybody else weren't like, I can't believe we're fighting in World War I.
We're gonna do it again. We should call this one.
Yeah. This is definitely gonna happen a second time.
It's got
to.
Sick. We all hate each other on a socio-political level.
Yeah. We invented tanks. Look at these things.
We have to use them. Somebody shot that Franz Ferdinand guy. We have to go there and fight for our lives. Then maybe in the next one, a guy tries
Raheem.
to rise
I wanted to talk about Raheem.
tell us what you're going to tell us, Steve.
Okay, so Raheem, like he seemingly was he's supposed to be the one who's like the voice of reason, right? Like he's stopping them from doing bad shit. He seems like he wants to be better in his life. He sees his girl with another guy, like a guy's like washing her car or something. I can't really remember what the exact thing was that set him off, but he sees.
Yeah, his girl was with another guy, and the other guy had his car washed, and then they both got in the car.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, okay, Raheem is going to be the voice of reason in a sort of heroic sense, right? Like he's going to be the one putting himself in front, being like, no, we can't do this, because he does that outside of the bar. He steps in to help Bishop when the other kids are like harassing him in the street for shit or whatever.
Oh, and actually, to that point, right quick, Bishop doesn't actually doesn't stand up or anything. Until he sees them come around the corner and then mouths off. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. His friend got his back.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before about how he doesn't think 10 steps ahead. He only thinks 10 seconds ahead, right? Like he's in that moment. He's not able to think of how he can get out of this situation until he sees his friends, and then he's thinking 10 seconds ahead, where he's like, now I'm going to throw some racial shit back in your face and make you feel stupid to the point that you're going to try and punch me, and then my friends are going to come in, right? Like he's not thinking further down the line. He's thinking specifically in that moment. Raheem, I was convinced was going to be the person who's constantly there as like the golden voice of reason that's always going to be able to guide people throughout the movie, right? And then what do we get? Like
he instigates.
Yeah. He's the one who's like, all right, we're gonna rob this fucking. I'm like, what? Raheem.
That did seem a little like a left turn, like when
out of character. Yeah, like what the hell, man? You seem like you have an all right brain, and then all of a sudden, what your girlfriend says to you earlier, which is like, I don't want my son to grow up like you and your stupid ass friends. And I was like, oh, that's harsh. Like he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. And then immediately he's like, we're going to rob this convenience store. I'm like, oh, no, she was right. You're a fucking idiot. You and your friends are all stupid. So maybe she's the hero of the movie. So yeah, that's when my Raheem respect went like out the window. I was like, okay, all we've got left is Steele. Steele is our man. Because Q is clearly the main character who we're gonna see through the rest of the movie, because he's the only one that has a dream. He's the only one we're seeing any sort of like introspective thought and any like activity outside of the group of these people.
It also feels like him and Bishop are best friends. Like those two specifically are best friends. They have the moment where they're running from the cops and they jump over the gap, and then their final battle.
Yeah, and he goes back and helps them. Yeah,
and their final battle happens in that same.
That seems like an
rooftop.
Awesome. Well, not awesome, but like, what an escape, to say the least.
You don't see that happen in realistic movies very often because it's ridiculous, but that gap wasn't.
It happens
bad.
in real life. That I was reading about this movie. That was the I want to say the director was speaking to a few people to kind of like flesh out the ideas of this movie, and that was a reality of something that they would do.
Do you know what's funny? Do you know what's really funny about that chase scene? So there's a part around this point of the movie where they go to like play some video games at an arcade where Sam Jackson.
Why are the cops after them anyway?
Listen, I'm going to tell you what's ridiculous.
Supposed to be in school.
Exactly. What's ridiculous about this is they go through that giant chase, only for me to realize that all that would have happened was they would have been sent to school. Because Steele doesn't escape, he just keeps playing vids, and the next scene, almost like a fucking comedy, they're just waiting outside the school, and Steele runs out of school. So they're waiting
outside the cop station. They run after the cops or run away from the cops just to go back to the cop station.
Oh yeah,
that blew my mind.
Okay, I thought
that was
that
was the moment that I realized like this isn't going to be like something like Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society, because like those movies have, like handing off of drugs and like there's like a deeper layer to like how life is on the street. Where like this movie seemed much
there's
more
no
innocent.
real, there's no like getting.
It's like they're friends who are
Yeah.
skipping school, and
There's
like
no
we can
real
all
getting.
relate to that
There's
because
no,
we've all been friends who skip school at some point with our friends, right? Like
I've been there.
There's no
Yeah.
getting sworn into a gang. There's no drug stuff. There's no like.
Yeah.
There's no real murder outside of like the first murder is like accidental. No, the first murder is not
No.
accidental. The second murder is a little bit accidental.
no, none of the murders in this movie are
All of the
accidental. They're
murders
all
are
100%. This guy just is shooting people. Like,
Okay,
he's
so
like, fuck this.
they also did a Chekhov's gun thing that didn't pay off, where at the near the beginning,
Chekhov showed up and he's like, "Here's my gun."
near
Take it
near the
from me,
beginning,
please.
the shop owner who they end up robbing, he chases
gun,
some
yeah.
dudes out of the store with the gun. And do you remember the line that he said? Because it's the best line in any movie.
I'll shoot you in the pee-pee.
I'm gonna
shoot
shoot
your penis
your
off.
pee-pee off, man. I wrote it down
Yeah.
because I loved it. I'm gonna shoot your pee-pee off, man, in some sort of nondescript accent. I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna shoot your pee-pee off, man.
Ended up getting his head blown off.
Well, he got shot
Yo,
in
also
the head.
that special effect looked great. Like for
The
for
the
for its
headshot?
time. Yeah, the head. Like
No, yeah, it looked good. Yeah,
Was it just like a tiny
It was-
squib? Like what?
it was like a squib, but
no,
like
but it was out of
outwards.
both. They had the entry like wound shot and then also the exit wound
Listen,
shot.
man, the budget on this movie clearly was tiny because they filmed in all like locations. There's like no studio shots in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So like that kind of like squib work like that goes a million miles for the quality of a movie like this, right? Like where everything
Exactly.
is like feels so real because it feels like they're just following these kids around for a lot of it. And when you get something like that, you're like, oh fuck, I didn't expect that. But in that scene, Steele says Raheem's name out loud, right? So like there, I think that's why he shot him, right?
Well, that whole part was so like it all happened very fast.
Well,
like,
I think
the
he
robbery-
wanted to shoot someone, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the
he wanted to
robbery
shoot
was
someone.
going
Blame it
very
on
well.
that he moved, but then also added that
Yeah.
Steele said Raheem's name.
Yeah, even though the
Yeah.
guy was like I didn't rewind it back to see
Quilles.
if he actually said his name, but the guy, the store owner, is just like, take whatever. I won't say anything. I didn't see anything. The robbery was going very well, and then Tupac takes a beat and points the gun at his head and shoots. Like it, you know what I mean? Like it was like literally he wanted to see what it felt like to kill somebody because his screws are all loose.
I think there's some
He wants
truth
to
behind
play
that.
by his own rules,
He wants to get
and then
the
he
juice.
wants to kill
He
his
wants
own
to have control.
Raoul's. I mean Raheem's.
What was his end game? What was Bishop's end game? Kill everybody on the planet?
I don't think
No,
that he had an end game.
control
I think
of
that
his
he's
life.
sort of like a Joker,
And go
right?
out in a blaze if he has to.
So I think the
Have
moment
the ground
where
beneath your feet and the wind behind your back, partner.
Okay.
oh, okay, calm down.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
that was good. I liked that. That was fine. You can say partner.
Okay. So I think that the moment where they get into the fight in Steele's apartment is like the moment where the movie transforms from the tale of four friends to a kind of a thriller. Like it
Like
turns
a
into a
thriller,
thriller.
almost horror movie, like something like.
I mean, you could call it a horror movie, but I think it's more of a thriller where it's like, like the two people are aware of each other and they're not sneaking up on each other, and it's just like a thrilling aspect, right? Like it's like this guy's buying a gun, this guy has a gun. What's gonna happen? Like I want to know, but I don't because I'm scared for them.
Also, quick little hat tip to the first Halloween movie when Bishop appears out of the shadows. At like I know that's later on, and we'll get to it, but just to add on to what you're talking about there, it kind of transitions to a thriller, but it does that scene at close to the end when Q tells Samuel L. Jackson's character Trip to tell Bishop to meet him at the bridge.
Under the
or
bridge,
whatever.
yeah, they're under a bridge, yeah.
Yeah, and Bishop comes out of the shadows, kind of like in Halloween, where we're on Laurie, but then we see Michael in the background slowly appear in the dark.
Yeah, it's definitely an homage, and it's successful, and it's thrilling, I would say, as a thriller would do it. But yeah, no, I think that they successfully, through that last stretch, like it's not even the last act so much as it is that last threat or stretch, they do all these really successful horror tropes, as we've seen in many movies, and thriller tropes, and like even to the point that like you believe that Bishop is a pretty good shot with that gun because he's like almost hitting him every time, and then like to the point that when he does hit him, I'm like, oh yeah, he almost hit him every time, and he's running. He's like, and you can see like perfectly placed squibs to make it seem like he's almost about to hit him every time, and every shot that he takes in the movie is like a perfect kill shot. Like it's like he knows how to use the gun.
But he's not good at fighting. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Like
he's like a pussy.
He's bad at fighting.
He is like kind of, for lack of a better word, a bit of a pussy in that respect. That
we mean Pussy Willow. It's a shortened form of Pussy Willow.
Hey, let's go watch
what I mean to say is that like he acts very tough only when he knows that he will have people there to help him. And then when it comes down to it, he will murder you right afterwards without a second thought, rather than try to de-escalate or to go back into a physical confrontation. He'll just kill you, which is like despicable. Yeah, that's the Raheem death is like the most despicable fucking thing I've ever seen.
He just fucking.
It's sad and it's fucked up. Like it actually. I watched it when I was watching it today. I was like, oh my god, man! Can you imagine you're fighting someone you've known your whole life, and they have a gun, and you're fighting them, and you do not believe that they will shoot you. You just think you're trying to get the gun away from them, and then they fucking shoot you. Like how your whole brain would be like, what? We're friends, man. We're like best friends, and you just fucking shot me.
Well, that's like way darker than I took it.
It's tragic, man. It's a tragic moment. Like where that's when you know that like he doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care about any of his friends at all.
He doesn't even care about himself.
That's true.
As he states later on.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was heavy, man. That movement, the moment where he kills Raheem is very heavy. Where I was just like, I think that's the moment that like fractured my brain as a kid. Where I was like, this movie's too scary. Like I don't like this shit.
My parents were right.
Yeah, I shouldn't have watched this.
There's a Mark Wahlberg movie from around this era called Fear, where he's sort of where he's sort of like a similarly charged, like he wants to take his life into his hands kind of a character, and I thought about that a lot. And that is basically a teen cast of like Cape Fear. So like that thriller trope runs real deep in this one as well, where you want to know what the bad guy's going to do next, but he's like sympathetic because he's a fucking kid, man. Like he's a teenager.
Yeah.
And then he's got Tupac's face, and Tupac, like,
he's 21. He's 21 at this point.
He has a whole, like, if Tupac was still alive now, I think the world would be probably a better place. Or he goes crazy at some point, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's been yelling about."
Listen, don't talk about Kanye.
I wasn't going to talk about Kanye. I was going to talk about Dave Chappelle.
I honestly, I think that he probably could have been like a Lady Gaga or a Donald Glover or like a Will Smith, where like he was so well known for his music.
Will Smith, no.
Okay, Will Smith in the fucking early 2000s, late 90s. Okay. Relax for a minute. Let me pull my fucking analogy, would you? Jesus.
Now I'm like, what did Lady Gaga do?
Lady Gaga is in many movies, and she's a very, very talented actor.
Sorry, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that was
okay, just let me finish the fucking analogy, would you?
My bad.
So what I'm saying is that not only are they very talented actors, but they are like already at a level of mega fame from their music. So they're not just like people who are coming up and using their fame to get other things. They're multi-talented, and it's like there are these weird people that exist in our reality that can like blow it out of the water with an acting performance like this movie, while also selling like multi-platinum albums forever. And like Lady Gaga is one of these people, and so is Donald Glover.
I think Bette Midler and Liza Minnelli are two examples of that from a
Liza
previous
Minnelli,
time.
yeah, but I mean like you can name a million people who are actors who then try to like make an album, but like never to the level of somebody like Tupac or like Will Smith or Donald Glover or Lady Gaga, right? Like they're like ridiculously famous for their music, but then also have this other super talent that you're like, holy
Queen
shit, you're
Latifah.
also an amazing actor.
Queen
Queen Latifah, yeah.
She's not a great actor, and she wasn't, but she's.
I think she's a good actor, but yeah,
she's a good actor. She's not
to the level
like
of
fucking
Donald Glover.
But also, Lady Gaga's not that good an actor, but she's an incredible musician.
What Lady Gaga movie have you seen?
I don't know.
The
American Horror Story.
A Star is Born. Maybe watch that
Stars...
and talk to me afterwards.
Okay, fair enough. I haven't seen A Star is Born. I did see her season of American Horror Story, and I thought she was just okay in it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, what all I'm saying is that there are some people that are so talented that they're able to like. It's like if talent was a clock, they like were using their clock. I was like, all right, your talent clock's about to run out. And then they like shattered it. And they're like, no, keep going. I'm going to keep going around the clock. And I'm still talented.
Okay, do you think that Tupac could have remained a huge star despite the fact that he's got a middle tooth?
He would have become more famous.
He's got middle front
tooth. I would have made a movie called Middle Tooth.
It is very distinct.
I hate when people change their natural. Not to say that I hate. I get it. Like
I was making a joke. I've never seen Tupac act before this. I've only seen him like perform music, and it's like a meme somewhere that I saw along the way on the internet that he's got that middle tooth. He's got like his.
It's a little jagged or like crooked.
No, his
or
two front teeth are just like over a little bit. I think Tom Cruise has it too. So it looks like he doesn't have like a gap. He's got his.
Actually, I think he fixed it or whatever.
His front teeth. It just looks like he's got. One of his front teeth is directly below his septum. So it looks like. He's got middle tooth. I'm sorry, Steve. I know that's a dumb thing. I know you hate those kind of dumb non sequitur things that I do, but it's a comedy podcast.
I just wasn't done. That's why.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay.
You're like, let me just interrupt you for 1 minute to
middle tooth.
Extra teeth inside people's mouths. All right.
Okay. I do like your analogy though. I like the clock thing.
Okay. Well, thank you. What I wanted to end that with was the mystery of like what Tupac could have been as an actor is going to be forever unanswered, and I think it's like one of those things that's like a tragedy beyond the tragedy, right? Like it's obviously terrible that he died, but like
almost a definition of tragedy, actually.
It's also like a secondary tragedy that we'll never know that he can't accomplish something beyond what he had already done, right? So like it's almost like a River Phoenix situation where like he was so good. And then he was taken away, and we'll never see. Or Heath Ledger, where like he was so good, and his final performance was like mind-blowingly good.
And I know
we'll never get to see anything.
I know you're not a huge fan, and he sort of had a couple of like he was going downhill. But Chris Farley is another person who I would have liked to see clean his life up and be able to still be making comedy. For Tupac, I really wanted to see, in retrospect, thinking about this all day today. Nowadays old rappers get to do these things called ciphers where they just do like a freestyle rap, and Eminem, who has had many ebbs and flows in his career, does these ciphers from time to time. Now they're fucking like, he's 50 and he's still mind-blowing at rap, right? I would like to see like an old Tupac. Tupac's only like 10 years older than us, right? He would have only been like, would have been like 50 now. No, if he was 20.
No, I think 70. I think he was born in 71.
Okay, so he'd be so like 50.
14,
yeah.
Or whatever that is.
But my point still stands. I'd like to see him come out with some of these younger guys. You know, they go up and do their cipher moment, and then he comes up and blows them all away. Like, that would be such a cool thing. If Tupac had just been around this whole time, if they could have. Because you don't really have rappers killing each other anymore the way you did in the gangster-fueled 90s.
There's still people getting killed.
No, there's people getting killed. There's people dying and getting killed, but it's not like direct.
Not from like beef.
Not from beef.
Well, not from rap beef, I guess, as much.
I mean, you know, Offset, was that who just from Migos who just got murdered? He was just killed playing dice with like his cousins or his uncle or something. And it was just a senseless tragedy, and lots of rappers get fentanyl or overdose, you know, so right. Or take their own lives too.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, Tupac, when he died, I heard that Tupac died before I even knew who Tupac was. This kind of thing. Like I was a kid. I was like 5 years old when this movie came out. I was just like, I don't know. And like when Tupac died, I was like, oh, okay. And like I had no idea who Tupac was until, slightly later in life where I was introduced to the music through movies and television and the radio, obviously.
I was aware of Tupac because I'd have friends who would like sneak the albums from their like older siblings, and we'd like listen to them all huddled around a stereo.
Nice. It's crazy because it's so tame now too. If you listen to it,
absolutely.
Like, I mean, it's like a lot of innuendo, if anything.
But compared to like WAP, compared to wet ass pussy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck, man.
A lot of Tupac's music kind of reminds me of like Plato's dialogues.
He was a genuine person, yeah. Like it's
universal,
it was poetic,
right? Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's something that it lasts through time because it's universal. It's not like specific to like right now. It's an always truth.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time, like true poetry can be translated into other languages and still be just as beautiful as it is in the original language that it was written. And I think that a lot of Tupac's lyrics can still be considered to be insightful and beautiful even when translated to other languages. Whereas WAP, maybe not so much.
No. Macaroni in the Pot
it's not really insightful or beautiful.
The macaroni,
no, it's just like lick this pussy.
The macaroni
it's a
in the
ass
pot.
Pussy.
The macaroni in the pot. The macaroni in the pot
line.
line.
Pussy.
The macaroni in the pot line is based off of Vine. So there you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, also a truly good Vine, if translated into other languages, is actually considered poetry.
If you translate it and then translate it back to English, it can be taken like a Greek metaphor.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, that's actually hilarious.
Yeah. If you take wet macaroni sounds and translate it to Italian and then back to English, you're basically getting the allegory of the cave.
Yeah, you're
Plato.
getting the Iliad.
Yeah,
the allegory of the cave. Oh my god.
There were a few jokes sprinkled throughout the movie, though. I do gotta give a little shout out to we get a little bit of truth with a little bit of a joke when Pac, aka Bishop, is talking about we run from Ramirez, I think it's Ramirez.
No, it's
Radimez, maybe Radimez. Like we run from them, we run from the cops, we run from this, we run from that. Man, we run so much, I feel like we're in a fucking track team. Like that gave me a nice little chuckle, but also sprinkled with truth, right?
Yeah.
Me against the world.
I think that I
world,
really enjoyed a lot of Steele in this movie because he seemed like a genuine person. A lot of the other guys throughout the movie were giving me performances, whereas he seemed like he was
just a
bit speaking the truth.
Yeah, a character that they just pulled him off the street and they were like, "You're the most real."
Yeah, just do. How would you react in this situation? And then he's
there was a weird subplot in this that like felt kind of unrealistic and also kind of gross, where Q just has an adult girlfriend.
I forgot about this. I forgot about this, and I think my brain actively removed it from my head.
Whoa, one sec. So I forgot.
Yeah, she's married to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he's like, I gotta get out of here.
Oh my god, that show's okay.
He's militant. He's a militant black man who's like, why don't you keep your your name's not like Ahmed or whatever. And he's like, nah, my name is Q because my name is Quincy, and I don't like being called Quincy because the name is lame, so I go by Q.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, and she's actively kicking him out, which I like, but like the militant black like character in media is always like such a drag. I've noticed, and it's no.
Yeah, that reminded me sort of like a dry piece of toast, like he was just kind of like.
Because he's a coward about it. It's not like he would be like join the Black Panthers and go out and like bust skulls. He's like a
But also, who is
this
woman who's dating like a fucking 16-year-old boy? Like,
let's talk a little bit more about that because it's so fucking.
I can talk to that. Well, I forgot about that relationship until I watched it yesterday/today, and I was like, and it reminded me of a relationship that I had couple years ago or whatever.
Wait, hold on. This might be a confession or not a confession, but this might be you having somebody put in jail.
No. We were both of age and stuff like that, but she was older, and
yeah, but he was maximum. If he's a
he's a high school student, man.
If he's in grade 12,
at most, unless he's
maximum 17,
a grade or two or whatever, he's like 18 most.
He's okay. Assuming he failed a grade, he could be 18.
No. If depending on when his birthday is, if it's after the cutoff.
All right. Why don't you just stop trying to defend pedophilia, Caylen, you psychopath?
Why was she trying to date a high schooler regardless? Like, the man is in high school.
Sometimes whatever. That's a story for another episode.
Okay, I had an 18-year-old girlfriend when I was 16 also, but I guess she had a grown-up job at a hospital. So
I was seeing someone that was 9 years older than me.
Am I juice? Oh God!
Do I have the juice? Okay, but 9 years is it? 9 years is fine.
It seems like she was married to this man probably for a while, and he is a man. Like, he looks like a man. He was nice
a boring
haircut,
guy
mustache.
that was being a stupid, shitty dick with a bad attitude, and she wasn't happy.
She decided, I'm gonna go date this guy who's not done learning Spanish 3. Yeah,
he doesn't know all of algebra. He doesn't know what y equals mx plus b even fucking means. Neither do I. I didn't retain any of that, so, you know.
Yeah, oh God. Math. My brain is not built for math. It's
I can write you an essay.
Drawing pretty pictures and
I can write you an
voices.
essay. Yeah, I can write you an essay. I can do some funny voices. I can tell a joke. What did that's the joke.
Yeah, why does the mermaid wear seashells? Because she grew out of her bee shells. Hey-o! Gotta go pee. I'll be right back.
Yo,
what's the deal with corn nuts? Are they a corn or is it a nut?
Yo, so one other little joke that I really liked as well was when Q was in line, Q's in line waiting to do his audition tape, and Buddy comes out like, man, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean you don't like my shit or whatever? Blah blah blah.
Calls him Gumby.
Yeah, he's like, look at this Gumby motherfucker or whatever the fuck he says. And like and he's wearing all green too. He's got like a green jacket, green pants and shit. And that the hairstyle or whatever they had, I don't know what that hairstyle is called, but they pulled it off.
Like a high top? I think it was called a high top.
No, but the thing is, like a high top would be all of it, right? They have this like almost like a part, not like a part, but like
that it's like a version of a fade, I think. But that like went away for a long time. I was like, wow, that's interesting because that hairstyle. But Tupac's I've never really seen again. But
because he's shaved, he's always been bald ever since. And goddamn, does he not look that much older when he shaved his head?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. He looks like Tupac looks old, even in that picture behind you. But there was a funny.
You guys still laughing about that mermaid joke or what?
Yes. There's a funny thing about that scene that I thought was like stuck out to me. I think the way that they filmed it was she like is like, come on inside and do this thing, and then 10 seconds later they filmed the like, okay, great, that was a great set. Just the way it felt like all that felt like one scene that they just filmed, and then they did the like inside him showing her the tape of him doing the DJ stuff.
Yeah,
it just felt so like it was so perfectly
the energy,
like the cadence, the lighting, like it felt like they're like, okay, let's just get this whole like the lineup, the door.
You're talking about that Queen Latifah moment?
Like Queen Latifah bit, yeah.
I think that the
exterior shot all just felt like it was filmed at the same time, and then the internal shot felt like a completely separate thing.
I really liked her introduction because it just gave you everything you need to know about her character without anything other than her just shitting on someone.
She's hard nosed.
Okay, yeah, we know what she's all about, and like, you know that she is going to recognize what she likes when she hears it, and it's pretty telling and good, and it was good. It like accomplished exactly what it needed to do for me, at least. I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly how you tell how you essentially like glue two characters together without having to give me much of anything other than like Ned or head bobbing interaction and like her shitting on some guy who wasn't as good as him before she came in. It's pretty great.
Did we get Bishop's full name? I feel like they called him Roman at one point.
Roman or Roland.
Roland Bishop is such a good like name for a character. Roman Bishop is actually a better name, but that sounds like a professional wrestler. Hello, it's me, Roman Bishop. But Roland Bishop, I think that's a good name.
I think you do get all their names at some point throughout the movie.
Yeah, when Q goes to the intercom and he calls them by how they talk to each other, but then realizes he's talking to a parent, so he uses their actual name, which is something that I can relate to, like in my personal life, because me and my friends like we all have names for each other, like nicknames or whatever kind of thing, right?
Yeah, my friends used to call me my friends used to call me Fig Newton. They didn't pronounce it exactly like that though. Just kidding.
How what's the origin of it? How'd it come about?
He was making a
joking.
bad joke. He was making.
Oh, okay.
They didn't pronounce it Fig.
My nickname was Stinks.
They say this movie. They say that word in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of was like, ugh. But it was also the bad guy who gets shot, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, that was another instance of using the F slur in a good way to show how shitty a person is. I would prefer the movie. I would prefer the word just not used in any media, but there is kind of a cutoff where if it's used, like they don't really use it anymore now. But if it's used in a movie, as long as it's showing how shitty a person is for using it, if it's like a teen
as somebody who has felt like my heart has been ripped apart by that word many times in my life, the fact that none of these four boys ever refer to one another as that, as a derogatory term,
or or the R word either. They didn't say frittata.
Or, God, Jason, you fucking
what?
You frittata.
I was gonna go on to say, but also when they have problems with each other, hug each other and like they literally like touch ears together and ensure that they're like embracing each other in a meaningful way, is like, wow. Though a couple of these guys give off like this serious level of what we would consider today to be toxic masculinity, they're all very close and like comfortable and loving to each other. Like they literally love each other.
This has an element of Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of remind me of the four boys.
Yeah, there's a fat one. There's a fucking crazy one.
But instead of
one of them probably became a writer.
Actually, one of them probably did become a writer.
One of them dies.
Q definitely became a famous DJ. Sure.
Whedon, or whatever his name is, Will Whedon.
Or he went the fuck to jail because
Bishop is River.
Whether it was self-defense or not, he killed that guy.
Steele is Chris O'Donnell, or whatever his name is.
Oh, we're doing. Can we do Stand By Me?
I made the joke, Caylen. You're just saying what I just said again.
Can we do?
No,
do Juice Muppetized?
Can we?
No, they're all Kermit.
No, we turtled it. We turtled it.
Yeah, we already did the turtle dick.
All right.
No.
Bishop puts 5 bullets in Puerto Rican gang leader.
Yeah.
That happened.
That was pretty wild. But also, when it happened, I was kind of like psychopathic. But also, if I had a gun and I hated that guy as much as I feel like Bishop hated that guy, and I had no regard for my own future,
and I've already killed enough to either die by police suicide or go to jail for multiple consecutive life sentences, I would kill indiscriminately. Please don't use that.
I definitely think that guy deserved a couple of fucking bullets to the brain.
So
he sucked.
Just to catch everybody up on what we're talking about, so they get taken in for questioning, and then they sort of all point the finger at the Puerto Rican gang. Radamez, the Puerto Rican gang that's been terrorizing them. And they're like, he did it. So Radamez confronts Bishop.
Bishop specifically.
But after Bishop has already told Q that if you do fuck around, you will find out. In regards to, like, if you say anything to anybody and if you don't just do what I say, and if you get too big for your britches, I'm going to shoot you too. Basically says that to him. But then we get a scene where the Puerto Rican gang confronts Bishop to be like, why did you tell the police we did it? We didn't do it. And Steele and Q come in the background. They come, like, down the hill and they see this happening. And they're like, they nope the fuck out of there. And as they're walking away, Steele's like, do you think he saw us? And it's like, Bishop looked right at me. Like, we made eye contact. Anyway, Bishop fights his way out and runs. And then as they run into an alleyway, Bishop gets behind Radames and just fucking unloads a whole fucking clip. It's not a clip even. It's a revolver
round or whatever.
Yeah, a whole round into, like, he shoots him, he goes down, and then you just see him go boom, boom,
Riverside,
boom, boom, and then he bolts. So just to give some context to what we were talking about for that scene, because there's some elements of this movie I really love, and it's the really real grit. Like, it's a really gritty movie. It's got some real grit. It's got some grit to it.
It's got a
there's one of the
they didn't clean the clams properly.
For cinematography, one of the scenes that really stood out for me was when Q wins his battle, and he's also I was reading that Omar Epps learned to, like, scratch and cut for the part a little bit, but he wins his battle against Buddy. Buddy does a little playful, like, gives him the finger, but in a playful way, which also kind of put a smile on my face. But, like, the whole crowd's cheering for Q, right? And like, Q's walking through the crowd, and we get this, like, kind of like image of, like, what the future could have for him. But then as he walks through the crowd, we see what his current, like, present future has for him, like his friends waiting for, like, all, like, the crowd's all cheering.
Yeah, they're all giving him, like, the stink eye, like they all are, like, hardened. Yeah, they look like statues, basically. Everyone's cheering, and, like, they're just like,
there was another cinematography moment that was similar to this that I didn't make a note of, is when I think he's running away, or he's walking, the camera's right in his face, and he's just flashing back to all the times when things were good with him and Bishop.
Raheem? Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was Q that was having that moment.
It was Q, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's because it's because Raheem had just died.
Yeah.
And he's losing it. He has to go back to the
He has to go back for, like, second round or whatever.
Back to the DJ show.
Yeah.
Which we don't get to see.
Which I guess he won, because he got
he gets arrested.
He gets arrested. The cops come in, like, almost immediately, and they're like,
how do they even know to come in?
Because they know that he's playing there and he's a suspect, so they went to where he was going to be playing, because they knew he'd be there. It would never happen
that fast in real life, though. They wouldn't have heard about it till the next day. I'm sure of it.
It's not real life. It's a fucking movie. Get over it.
I won't, Steve. Okay, you don't have to condescend to me about reality, because I'm not part of it.
You know what else would never happen in real life? The entire movie of Ghostbusters, your favorite fucking movie ever made.
Hey,
so stop.
Hey, that's not my favorite movie. Basketball is, and that will definitely one day happen. Okay?
Well, yeah, that obviously already happened in 1997 or whatever that movie came out.
1998. 97 or 98, yeah.
Not committing that to memory.
Caylen,
he gave it a 5.
Yeah, jokingly. Anyway,
can I talk about the music for a moment?
Yeah, I just want to give.
I
just want to give Caylen a heads up that it's. We did manage to fill 2 hours. It's 11 o'clock, so keep.
You don't need to give me the heads up.
We started at 9:30, but yeah,
that's true. Okay.
So I was getting a little bit perturbed with the music in the beginning, not the
choice.
Not the musical choices that they're like, not the music that they've acquired as a soundtrack, but the music that they were playing in terms of in terms of score, like when they were like the filler music, the music that is meant to, like, add body to scenes and stuff.
Okay.
I was getting annoyed because it seemed like every time Steele had, like, a long moment of dialogue, they'd have this sort of, like, rhythm playing in the background, and they did it for almost every moment where there was, like, expository dialogue or explanatory dialogue between characters. It was like just playing in the background, and like all I could think was like this whole scene would be better is if it was a tone, like a stretched out tone, or no music at all.
Well, I
or
also
just background sound.
I agree with you to a degree. I think that the musical choice was fine. I just think that the mix was fucked. Where the music.
What do you mean when you say that?
It was too loud. It's too loud.
It was
distracting.
It was too loud, and so there's a lot of parts in this movie where it's very realistic, almost improvisational feeling dialogue, where it's just people talking. And the first half hour of this movie has a lot of that, because the whole first scene is just different people's homes and people walking around saying things to each other. And over that, it was like,
but you don't need like a.
Well, it's loud hip hop playing over it,
like the whole time.
Where if you just bring the level of the music just down slightly, it mixes more into the background, because the rest of the movie doesn't have that problem. The Cypress Hill song, the Cypress Hill song that's just sorry, one sec. The Cypress Hill song that's used later in the movie is used like it would be used in like as a soundtrack to sort of outline what's happening in the movie. I think it's so
I can just kill a man. Give me something you can't understand.
I think it's when Tupac is chasing Q at that pivotal scene, right, with the elevator.
They're in the apartment building. Yeah.
And they go into the elevator. I just think at the beginning, like, I love hip hop. I listen to hip hop. The hip hop isn't the problem.
It has nothing to do with the genre of the music that's playing. It's just the fact that it's overpowering and it's there, and it's like it almost feels like in like watching it in 2022, it almost feels like parody-ish, because it's so like it's so on the nose of like what should be playing at this point. But it's like if you had no music and these people are talking about their lives, their relationships, and they're just talking with like, you know, like a schoolyard bell going off in the background and cars honking and street noise.
Yeah, I could.
It feels more real, and you feel more invested because it feels like you're there. But when it's like, and they're like, "Yo, man," and I'm like, "This is not good. This is making it's too much for my brain to handle."
It was
distracting.
I just want to like slow down and listen to what they're saying, and not have this music trying to make me feel something that I'm not feeling because I'm trying to listen to what they're saying, right?
Not for nothing, like, Steve, you kind of sound like an old man talking about rap, but but I know you're not. But I feel like it's like when an old guy's like, I can't even understand what they're saying.
So I'm talking about the base score. I'm not talking about any of the songs that were chosen for specific moments to highlight the moment. Those were all perfectly chosen. Every song that was chosen, I'm talking about the score of the movie that is played underneath when it's not a song, it's just there. It's just a soundtrack that's there to be there. And then that same soundtrack is used later, but they take the beats and motes of those moments and they deepen it. So, like, okay, there's the moment where they're about to jump across the rooftop, for example.
Yeah.
And they take that same music that was playing earlier, but they take a, like... And they start playing that, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty fucking good. Like this music they're playing here, they take the same energy of that stupid stuff that didn't make any sense earlier, and they place it here, and it makes way more sense. And then at the end, when he's got the gun like right up to his face, they do the same thing, and they take this like tonal music, but it's like it has sort of like the logistics of hip-hop music, but it's slowed down and made ominous, and it's like super duper effective and amazing. And like my mind went from like, I hate this, to this is so well done. Like it's almost like they crafted it on purpose. But that shit at the beginning still distracted me like so hard, where I was like, why is this here? Like, we don't need this. But like, again, later they took the same sort of sensibilities, and it worked for me to a point that I don't think I'm even explaining correctly here.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You know what I mean, though? Like, you digested that, like, they took those same sort of like beats and like
they're hipping and they're hopping and they're bipping and they're bopping and they don't know what the jazz is all about.
All right.
No.
This episode will never see the light of day. I'm calling my lawyers.
Why? Because not only am what I'm saying is kind of racially charged, but also it's a quote from Bill Cosby from The Simpsons. Maybe we just cut that.
I actually looked up the score of this movie after watching it because I really enjoyed the end musical portions. And some of the ones near the beginning, like the rooftop jump, I thought was really cool. And I couldn't find any of it. Like, it was actually quite difficult to find. There are some people that took the music and like reduced all the audio, like the vocals out of it, but I couldn't find the actual,
just the instrumentals or
the actual scores. Yeah, it was hard. Anyway, the music, again, for some reason, I don't know what it is about the character of Steele, but like the moments that I'm talking about, the music playing inappropriately, in my opinion, are only there when Steele is there. So I don't know if that has to do with Steele as a character.
Like almost like that's the hip hop version of going boom 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 boom.
Like some sort of like
tuba sound,
tuba playing in the background. Yeah. But like it's seriously funny. Just like and it's just playing there and you're like, just stop. I just want to hear what they're saying. I don't need this. But like any other time where like when they go into the arcade and there's music playing, or when they go into the music store and there's music playing, or when they're having sex and there's music playing, like all of that makes sense. Or when he goes to buy the gun and it's what is it? It
was Morris Day and the Time. The
fire song about starting fires. Yeah.
So fuck, I wrote it down.
Pretty ladies around the world.
It's Morris Day and the Time. That band,
which is a very like sexually charged song, but it's also a very empowering song. And like I think the whole reason they chose that song is because it's like the song that song
Word Up.
Like
it's Word Up by Morris Day and the Time.
That song is like about taking control.
Morris Day and the motherfucking Time.
That song is about taking control, and like that whole point of that scene is him buying a gun for cheap.
Sorry, I wasn't.
Yo, $25. That's not even enough to buy you a slingshot.
Yeah, speaking of Liza Minnelli, right? That lady looked like Liza Minnelli.
Oh, sorry, it's not Morris Day and the Time.
Tell your mom Liza sent you.
It's not Morris Day and the Time. It's Cameo, who was another like one-hit wonder from the 80s, 90s, and I think that song might be in Grand Theft Auto.
If you have a good one-hit wonder, you can live off of it.
It's true. Look at I Wear My Sunglasses at Night by
George Michael.
No, it's sung with an R.
Corey Hart had lots of hits.
This album doesn't even have that song on it, I don't think.
There's a song by Corey Hart that sounds like the background music sounds like something that would be playing in Mario Kart 60s.
Rick Astley. This does have Never Surrender. Sorry, Steve, what are you saying?
Nothing. I'm good.
I think we're starting to get close to our close.
This week we're going to be talking about Corey Hart.
One of the many famous Coreys.
Doesn't this kind of look like a South Park character? I'm going to shit on your chest.
Steve, I can't tell if you said I'm going to shit on your chest or I'm going to wear my sunglasses at night on your chest.
Sorry, Steve. I honestly didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy. I'm just having.
It's okay. You've been doing it this entire episode.
I'm having a good time. I apologize.
What, are you drunk?
No, I'm just having a good time. This is my outlet for the week. I have a stressful job. Okay.
To add on to that, this is sometimes kind of a therapeutical thing for me as well.
Yeah, you started this episode in such a
just say therapeutic next time.
No, therapeutical. Let's keep that word as a word forever.
Therapeutical sounds like you're like getting things plucked out of you. Or scraped off of you.
I honestly didn't mean to cut you off. And if I've been doing it this whole episode,
it's okay.
It's okay. Bad.
It's just sometimes when I bring up like a specific topic, I kind of want to go more than 10 seconds talking about it before you like decide to cut me off and then talk for fucking 3 minutes straight without letting me talk.
Yo, watch the playback and then learn from it or some shit.
To be fair, you do that
Learn
to me too.
from it or some shit.
You do that to me too. This isn't a thing that only happens one way.
Yo, it's a 3-way street.
It is.
A 3-way street, like a roundabout. This is a roundabout, motherfucker.
So we need a safe word to be like, I want to keep talking. I think when I go, sorry, just give me 1 second.
No, he's got a safe look. See, I know Steve.
Yeah,
I
know, and I'm not. I often look down. I'm talking, so I don't see Steve's. I know his look too because he gives it to you sometimes. But that's why I'm apologizing sincerely, because I do want you to get all your thoughts, and I want you to be able.
So let me say this. Let me say this, Steven. Can you give us, before your final thoughts, can you give us any last thoughts that you would like to address before we start to wrap things up?
Your penultimate thoughts, if you will.
Yeah, penultimate. Perfect. That's a good word choice.
I think that Steele's costume before he puts on his jacket,
the overall,
is how most twinks dress now, and a lot of gay bars.
Can you explain to me what a twink is?
I don't know if they necessarily saw this or like that's a great look, or it's just somehow like evolved into like twink. Twinks now dress like
what's a twink?
Like a fucking hairless little teenage-looking male at a gay bar. They're not teenage; they look like younger, like a young gay man being like, and they'll wear like exactly what he was wearing, like big combat boots with brightly colored overalls and like a crazy like striped turtleneck underneath. Yeah.
At what point does
a bucket hat? At
what point does a twink become a bear?
It's a pretty massive transformation. There's a lot that goes into that.
Is it age?
At what point does a twink become a bear?
I know the answer
once
to that.
Once a month,
and it's McDonald's. It's McDonald's every day for a year.
Becomes the bear.
It's McDonald's every day for a year. That's how you make a twink into a bear. Cool.
No, that wasn't my only thought. My penultimate thoughts. I think I didn't get my full stuff about the music out. It got turned into me sounding like a weird old man shouting at a full moon, being like, the music in this music-based movie where a character wants to become a musician was too black, or whatever. Like, that's what it made me sound like, but that's not what I was trying to say.
I wear my cum glasses at night, guys.
I like that he put his books down and picked up a boombox and then went out the door.
That was awesome. That was definitely
awesome. I think that Tupac it is and was a very handsome man who was extremely talented and probably had so much potential that we will never get to see. And it saddened me at the end of this movie. It was when I found out Heath Ledger died, I didn't really care, and then I saw The Dark Knight and I was like, oh, fuck me to death. Like, I cannot believe that I'm never going to get to see this guy do anything again. And then Dr. Parnassus came out and I was like, I get to see him one last time? Yeah. Sick. I think this movie is probably a good representation of friends who realize that they trusted somebody more than they should have. And I think that most people on Earth can identify with having a group of friends where one person, even though they seemed like they were just as much a part of the group as any of your other friends, was always never meant to be there and was probably dangerous. And maybe not as dangerous as somebody who's going to kill you, but like dangerous in a way that they add like a certain level of toxicity to a group that you might not even be aware of until it's too late, or until all of you have to band together to like force that person out. And yeah, I'm glad I revisited this movie, because I don't know, man. I probably never would have had you not recommended it. And I think it's good, man. There's a lot of like sort of subtle humor.
Is this your final thought?
I mean, I guess this can be.
Give your, you know what? Might as well make this all your final thought. Give us all of it.
Yeah. I just to continue off of what I was saying, I guess, like, I've had a close group of friends very similar to the dynamic of this group of friends. Um, and going through life, you often will lose friends. You don't necessarily lose them to the smoking barrel of a six shooter snub nosed pistol, but like you will lose them in other ways, right? Whether it be through time, distance, neglect, or realization that they're not healthy for you. And it did make me long for like a simpler time of just like your friends are your friends. And that's not really how life works out for anyone, right? Um, and like each one of these characters is sort of like a juvenile representation of how everybody kind of feels and thinks at some point. They all represent sort of like a very base emotion, and it's interesting. It's an interesting thing that you could probably go back and watch a few times and dissect it more and more. um there's it's not a perfect movie, but it's an interesting movie, and it starts out one way and you expect it to be going in a certain direction, and it completely turns into almost an entirely new genre, which is really cool. When I first went into this, I thought it was going to be more similar to something like Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood, but it isn't. It's its own thing. Like it is very much its own thing. um like I made that assumption based on like situation, location, race, and age of the characters. I was like, it's probably going to be something like this, right? It's not. It's its own thing, and it's pretty darn good. I think my main criticism of it is like, other than my like minimal musical critiques where I'm like, turn down the music at some point so I can hear what the fuck they're talking about. um I would have liked to have seen more of Raheem and Steele, and way more of Bishop. I think I got enough of Q that I knew who he was and knew what he was doing. I did not like the weird female character whose name I cannot remember, who is just
I
like
think it's Yolanda.
Yolanda?
like is it Yolanda? I don't know. She's the only
older woman?
The nurse, yeah, the nurse character.
Yeah, Yolanda, yeah.
She's basically there to show that he's like more mature than he is. Like, I don't understand her character's purpose other than being a nurse at the end to reveal that like Steele shared with the world that Bishop was the murderer, and to like show that he's like more mature than he is. Right. If anything, it made me feel like she was a creep, right? Like, I'm like, ugh, this woman is kind of gross. Like, who are you, lady? Get out of here. You're capitalizing on teenage horniness. That's what you're doing, you weirdo. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the dynamic of the friendship, when you look at it at first viewing, you can relate to it in your own sort of youth, or if you're even this age, you can probably relate to it in your own life. But I think that like the tragic part of it is that like you understand that like you have to be willing to either one, murder all your friends to become a psycho crazy person, or be willing to like let them go and follow your dreams, right? Like, that's the thing that kind of sucks. So I don't know, I guess if I had to give this movie a rating, I'd say super dope cover or overalls with a striped turtleneck covered up by a big blue raincoat. Nobody even can see what he's wearing under there. He's wearing it the whole time.
I was wondering all day what you were going to rate this movie with your rating system.
No, but I also would recommend watching it if you have never seen it. And like, if you want to watch something that is not sort of a conventional high school aged movie where you can see yourself in a group of friends, where it doesn't necessarily like cater to your sensibilities of what you experienced at that age, because it is kind of interesting and valuable.
Thank you, Stephen. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
I just want to add on just a little bit for any of the older women out there that like younger guys.
I am available. Yes.
Jason, can you please share with us your final thoughts?
I'll give you my penultimate final thought first.
Penultimate and then final. Yes.
The final battle on the rooftop had a very good struggle element to it. I thought it was a very good final battle. I think Q would have still gone to jail, even though it was self-defense. And also, we forgot to mention the time where they say juice for the first time. It's 10 minutes and 3-ish seconds.
1 second.
3 minutes and 1 second. And I
didn't forget. I was going to mention it.
I really liked how at the end, the guy who through the movie has been talking about the juice the whole time. It's like, you got the juice now, man. We've mentioned that quote a few times during our review, and I thought it was so fucking funny because it freeze frames on him, but in a moving shot, like he's going like this.
Yeah, it does They didn't do a photograph.
It's not very clear. Yeah, it's kind of grainy or whatever.
There was 10 minutes left in the movie, and I'm going, how are they gonna? I feel like there's a half hour of things that are supposed to happen, but it's just kind of they just don't do what happened after the fight either, so it just kind of ends.
Oh, fuck. I forgot to talk about the elevator part. The most amazing part of the entire movie.
One sec. We'll come back to you, Steve, before I go on.
I'm sorry.
I'll just say, I'll just do my final thoughts now. Overall, it's a good watch. It's decently paced and short, and no scenes lingering too long, which is aces.
Your favorite.
Yep. I don't like long, drawn-out nonsense. Some of the scenes in his girlfriend's place were kind of just move on. But anyway, it would have cut the runtime down to an hour and 10 minutes. I like the hip hop soundtrack. The cinematography is pretty standard for the era, but has some interesting moments, like when Q is having his flashbacks for the Raheem stuff that we were talking about. It's interesting they did a solid half-hour world building to show the camaraderie and friendship and home life. And it's interesting how it all changes in such a hurry with just them them doing a robbery perfectly, and then that's the turning point. Bishop just decides he has to here's something you can't understand. He wanted to become a villain.
He just wanted to do it,
Here is something you can't understand, how I can just kill a man. And then he proceeds to kill all of his friends one by one. It isn't even overly heavy with the socio-political stuff, and is more so a good guy versus bad guy story, a depiction of what the streets can do to mental health if left untreated or unlooked at. I love Tupac and Omar Epps' performances, so I gave this a 3.7 out of 5. And my review for you guys is I give this a purchasing a gun from a woman called Sweets, and then realizing you don't need it and throwing it into the bag.
Nice. I like that.
That's a pretty good one though, because that's almost representative of how you feel about the movie, where you're this movie needs a good shootout at the end, and then you realize it
don't need it
because it has a good rooftop bout. Yeah.
Also, the gun was bullshit. The gun was a piece of crap.
That was a weird a gun that a lady in Indiana Jones would.
You know who? It reminded me of. Remember Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? Val Kilmer's character, his gun. Remind me of his gun.
Yeah. Something you would put on your fucking boot.
Yeah. Steven, you had one, or sorry, Jay, do you have any more to add?
No, I'm good.
I just wanted to say that that moment in the elevator at the end where he scoots into the elevator and it fills up almost completely with people, and then Bishop gets in, and they're just staring at each other through a full elevator. That's something that I don't think I've seen in a movie before.
How did they film that?
No. Just the fact that they're trying to kill each other, and they're having a standoff with a bunch of people who don't know what the fuck's going on between them, and they're in a box, a tight space, and then you're how's this gonna go? And then he says, what are you gonna do? Shoot me in an elevator? And then he pulls out the gun and he's gonna shoot him. And I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking wild.
That goes to like his whole character of like you wouldn't typically like they would have just waited there usually in most other movies. Where
like if it was like a John Wick or something, they would have been like sweating and been like huffing slightly.
And the elevator
and then,
music could be like,
and then everybody would have got off,
ding,
and then they would have like
ding, 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 ding.
like fought each other. Yeah, exactly.
But then that whole elevator like witnesses that end fight as we turn out, because after he pushes him off the building, he turns around and they're all just standing there watching it.
And that one guy takes the gun and like puts it in his jacket. In my brain I was like, okay, they're just doing that to show that the gun has been taken out of the equation so that nobody is confused as to where the gun is. Like they did that for that reason. But in my brain I was like, that guy got his fingerprints on the gun. He's gonna be implicated now.
He's
like,
gonna get the juice.
So upset by it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to mention how that was actually a very cool thing.
Also,
very cool thing.
The background music for that whole sequence is Cypress Hill, which is fucking that song. I assumed
it was on point.
I assume that song is like from this movie, you know, like, and then it became like a popular song. Like it was probably used.
Well, we all know my opinion is that I fucking hated that. I hated that it was in there at all. No, I'm joking. I think the music after
You're the white guy that goes way out of his way to get out of the way.
Yeah, I'm the guy who goes around the benches. Yeah, no, I think that after the plot kicks in, everything musically started to like fall into place for me. I was like, okay, this all makes sense now. But there were still a few moments where I'm like, just stop with this.
Basically, from the simultaneous element of Q going to the DJ contest and Bishop starting to talk about doing crimes with this gun that he has, that's when we get to like the Home Alone of it. But then it fucking, as soon as we get to that robbery that is going, I cannot stress how well this robbery is going. Robberies in movies do never go this well. They never execute a robbery so fucking cleanly, only to have the person be like, what would happen if I just shot this guy though? You know, like
probably something cool, right?
Probably
now
something cool. I'm the
hero,
cool
man.
dude who got the bag.
All right, Caylen, what about your final thoughts?
All right. So, first off, I want to say thank you both for allowing me to present this month of movies to you guys and joining me along the way. And I appreciate it. Any doubts you may have had, I feel like have been swept aside, and I feel like we had a good journey. Things came from it. My final thoughts on this particular movie, off the bat, I do want to say that I did feel that the soundtrack complemented what we were seeing on screen. I mentioned before, but I felt that each actor gave a strong performance for their role. Tupac stole it. I can't lie. The tragedy of this movie can be summed up in what Q's little brother said. He likes Bishop because he's cool, right? He thinks he's a cool person. And I think the tragedy is that archetype is looked at as being cool and is looked at as being something to aspire to, when it leads to not a fulfilling outcome, to say the least. As far as like technical aspects, there were some like cinematography wise, like there were some shots that I really liked. There were some like shots that seemed kind of like that. There were times where it kind of felt like this might have been someone's first movie. I think that Ernest Dickerson was the director, and my apologies to you, Mr. Dickerson. I don't know your history. It felt like it might have been a first-time movie, but it did have elements that had me engaged. it did. There were moments that I could relate to. You know, the Stephen, you put it really well, where you have a group of friends, but you could eat like your relationships with people change over time, whether it be, you know,
It was his first
different
movie.
work.
Sorry.
It was?
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
he did one episode of a TV show, and then this is his first movie. He also
Right, so it
directed
comes
Tales
through.
from the Crypt, Demon Knight, interestingly, and a whole bunch of other shit after that. Sorry.
No
That
stories,
movie
no
is
stories
fucking
required.
bananas.
But
I
it
kinda
does
like it.
kind of it is throughout the technical aspect of this movie. It is kind of telling that it is someone still honing their craft. But Stephen, you made a good point about how we grow out of relationships, whether it be through different, like, so you have a different work schedule, you have a different or to go to an extreme, different perspectives. You outgrow someone's not healthy for you, or the extremes that this movie goes to, death, aka. But it had it was there was a lot of truth sprinkled throughout, and again, the reason why I picked this movie was primarily because of Tupac's performance, and there is that mysterious what could have happened, what could he have done, what could he have been, what else could we have experienced from this person that was taken from us at such a young age. All that being said, I give this movie a getting out of the hood and living a fruitful life to an old age. For me personally, I would say it's a buy, but at the very least, I would say that it's you should at least watch it at least once in your life. Also, side note, MPAA number 31531.
Wow. I like that new thing you're doing. The MPAA, the MPAA. It's not a rating, but it's like the number of the movie.
Chronological.
How many movies was made, and which order was this one in it?
This one is probably about 50,000 movies ago, also, so that's pretty nuts. Cool, man. Just some station notes. Next month, we're going to be doing sort of a viewer picks month. We've posted on social media about it. We pretty much have our movies locked in, and we're going to tag whoever has suggested the movie. Going forward, we'll probably do these to do a movie month of viewer picks. We'll probably have a 3-month buffer, just because it takes a long time to generate that kind of feedback. It's weird doing a show like this where we're not a straight up podcast. We're like a live show that's on a week delay for YouTube. I'm still working on trying to figure out ways to do an audio. I haven't decided if I want to do audio from the very beginning or from when Steve joined the show. And even then, like, it still took us a little while to
It should be from when I joined. I'm the heart and soul of this podcast.
But it also may be a situation where I just take episodes that I particularly like and just make an audio version out of those, because this is episode 69. Guys, we did it. We got to episode 69.
Oh,
Why are we not all sucking each other's butts?
So I just want to thank everybody who's been around and who's listened to episodes and who's watched episodes and who's just seen the growth of the show. Every episode we do is probably our best episode production wise.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Not our best episode content wise necessarily, but because they kind of fluctuate. Like, sometimes we'll have a show where not everybody's in it. Sometimes we'll have a show where, like, whatever. This was a very good.
Sometimes I forget that I'm not wearing pants and I stand up and then
And we all see us dongler and
unscreen.
dinglers. Whoopsie doodles. Say it's doodles, it's a whoopsie.
Whoopsie dickies. No, it's like
you blew it.
No.
You're fine.
Now you go ding dong dong ding ding dong dong. Ding,
And it's just all cock and balls all the way down. But
if I was wearing a suit of armor
that would be a
right
good name
now,
for a podcast. All cock and balls.
cock and balls all the way down.
You know what
All
I had
cock
an
and
idea
balls.
for? Get to the point. You know when you see this little thing
Get to
on
the
like
point.
a little
Get to the
ad or
point.
whatever? It's something you want to know about, and then you click on it, and they talk about all this exposition and all this other shit you don't give a fuck. Just tell me the fucking answer.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I was thinking get to the point the entire time you were saying that.
Yeah. So was I. Also, just Google it, please. God damn it, please. Just Google it, please. Just use Google.
No,
just
because
use
Google
it.
doesn't give you the
It
straight up
does.
answer.
It does if you know how to ask Google. Anyway, so I just wanted to point out that that's what we're doing for next month. January is going to be a John Carpenter month. We have a special guest for January. I'm going to be on another podcast in January to do a little cross promo. And we got some exciting things coming. So December is going to be a fun month. We hopefully we don't drop the ball like we did last year where we planned on doing like 5 fucking Christmas movies and ended up doing like 2. But yeah,
holidays.
Yeah, holidays. I'll be around.
We did a Batman. We did a
We did
Ghostbusters.
Batman and
They were all
Ghostbusters.
good.
We didn't do Die
What's
Hard.
that shit they put on the eggs? Hollandaise?
Yeah, it's delicious. It's clarified butter and fucking more butter.
Caylen,
Maybe
are
we
you-
should have a Hollandaise month.
Hollandaise is a sauce that goes. It's not
On
a holiday sauce. It's
hollandaise.
like a thing that's used all year round.
Yeah, it's
That's what
Hollandaise.
I said, Hollandaise.
It goes on eggs Benedict and it's clarified butter and
So
cream.
we should just do movies that feature hollandaise sauce as like a main plot point.
Cooking movies for 2020 December 2023 is going to
Eggs.
be like Chef
Egg month.
and Kitchen Confidential and an episode of No Borders with. Sorry, Caylen, I want to go now. Good night.
Oh, well, you know what? Allow me to wrap things up.
Hold on, I've got like 12 things to plug as well. Hold on.
I was
Just
plugging
kidding, I don't have
our
anything.
show,
Nothing,
okay? I
I've
was
got
plugging,
nothing.
literally, I was plugging this.
Listen, go to curiouscorrespondenceclub.com
No, go
for
to
some sick puzzles. I work on them. They're pretty great. All my illustrations are there.
Actually, that's a good point.
They tell me to do things, and then they don't let me do things.
Well, Jason doesn't want me to advertise my actual job. Unless they sponsor, I guess.
For Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
And for Jason and Jason, I'm Kellen.
No.
For Steven and Kellen, I'm Jason.
Thank you.
For Jason and Caylen, I'm Kellen. And hey,
We just got to ask you one thing.
We want to know.
Hey. Do you have the juice?
Hey, you got the juice now, buddy.
Use the juice. Hey, use the juice.
May the
No,
juice.
we were just playing. Hey, did you see this one?
Hey,
did you see this one?
hey, did you see this one?
The music playing.
Is this the audio?
We all have to pretend like we're dancing or whatever.
Hello, everybody. This is the after show, and it is going to last for nearly 1 second or 2. Get in
And
the-
this is where we all reveal
that we are actually
Yes,
vampires.
I am Empire from the land of Kansas.
Are we all doing the count from Sesame Street?
No,
Yes.
you fool! Don't reveal your identity.
Me neither.